The world's oldest continuously operating company was founded in Japan more than 14 centuries ago. Today, the same country is home to some of the world's fastest trains, most advanced robotics, and cities that seem to belong to the future. Here, centuries-old temples stand in the shadow of glass skyscrapers, while quiet tea ceremonies continue only a few streets away from dazzling digital billboards. It is a country where the past has never truly disappeared, even as the future arrives a little earlier than everywhere else. To many visitors, Japan feels almost impossible to explain. It is orderly without appearing rigid, deeply traditional without resisting change, and remarkably modern without abandoning its identity. Every year, millions travel here hoping to discover the secret behind this extraordinary balance. Yet the answer is not found in Tokyo's neon lights, nor in the snow-covered peak of Mount Fuji. It begins much earlier, long before the first cities were built, before emperors ruled, and before samurai walked these lands. This is a place of profound and unsettling beauty, a nation that has given the world the bullet train and the tea ceremony in the same breath, a society that has built the most technologically complex cities on the planet and yet returns, quietly and deliberately, to the rhythms of the rice harvest, the cherry blossom, and the ancient pilgrimage trail. It is gratitude sharpened into feeling. This is Japan, and this is a story not of spectacle, but of depth, not of surfaces, but of the invisible forces that hold a people together across centuries of change. This is the story of how people live between ancient traditions and the luminous edge of the future in Japan. Life in Japan is governed by a rhythm that is at once invisible and absolute. It is a rhythm not of noise or urgency, but of precision, of 10,000 small acts performed with a care that borders on devotion. The day begins early. In cities like Tokyo and Osaka, the first trains move before 6 in the morning, and already the platforms fill with people who stand in neat, painted lines, not because they are told to, but because they always have. The train arrives, not approximately, not almost on time to the second, and when it does not, when a rare delay stretches a minute into two, the railway company issues a formal written apology. That detail alone says more about Japan than any geography textbook could. In millions of homes across the country, a rice cooker has been set on a timer the night before, so that the morning begins not with effort, but with the smell of freshly steamed rice already waiting. The traditional breakfast, rice, a bowl of miso soup, a piece of grilled fish, a dish of pickled vegetables, is a small, complete world. It is balanced, seasonal, unhurried in intention, if not always in execution. For those who must move faster, there is the konbini, the convenience store that is something far more than its name suggests. Open every hour of every day, these small, perfectly ordered shops are social anchors, places to buy a warm onigiri rice ball, pay a utility bill, send a parcel, or simply stand for a moment in the fluorescent calm before rejoining the current of the city. Underlying all of it is the concept of kaizen, continuous, patient improvement, not transformation, not disruption, small, steady, deliberate betterment, applied to everything from factory floors to the folding of a department store bag. It is a philosophy so deeply absorbed into the national character that most Japanese people would not think to name it. They simply live it. In a world that increasingly prizes speed over quality and noise over depth, Japan offers something quietly radical, the idea that how a thing is done matters as much as the thing itself, that the morning, entered with care and attention, is already a form of mastery. The family unit is the cornerstone of Japanese society, but in Japan, that cornerstone extends outward, spreading into the neighborhood, the school, the workplace, and the street in ways that are quiet, structural, and profoundly deliberate. It is not passivity. It is the active, daily choice to subordinate the individual impulse to the collective good, to read the room before speaking, to consider the effect of one's presence on everyone else in it. It is perhaps the most demanding form of consideration there is, and the Japanese have practiced it for so long that it has become, for most, simply the air they breathe. In neighborhoods across the country, this takes its most tangible form in the Chonekai, the local residents' association that organizes festivals, coordinates disaster preparedness, checks on elderly neighbors, and passes circulars door to door. It is an institution so embedded in the texture of daily life that most people who participate in it do not think of it as civic engagement. They think of it as just what neighbors do, and in that unself-consciousness lies its power. At the heart of all of this, in every home, every inn, every place where one person receives another, lives the spirit of omotenashi. The word breaks apart beautifully, omote, meaning one's outward face, and nashi, meaning without, together suggesting a hospitality so complete, so genuine that there is nothing hidden behind it. No performance, no transaction. The shop clerk who adds a waterproof cover to a bag when rain is falling outside has not been instructed to do so. The passerby who walks a lost stranger all the way to their destination, rather than simply pointing, has not been rewarded for it. These are not exceptions in Japan. They are the texture of ordinary days. It is common for multiple generations to live in close proximity, grandparents near children near grandchildren, creating a living web of memory, obligation, and love that runs in both directions. The elderly are not marginal here. They are the roots, visible and valued, from which the present continues to grow. Tradition in Japan is not a relic of the past preserved under glass. It is a living, breathing, and integral part of the present, folded into ordinary days with a naturalness that makes it almost invisible to those who carry it, and breathtaking to those who witness it from outside. At the center of this tradition is chado, the way of tea. What the Western world has come to call the Japanese tea ceremony is, in Japan, not a ceremony at all in the performative sense. It is a practice, a discipline. It was shaped over centuries and perfected in the 16th century by the tea master Sen no Rikyu, who distilled its philosophy into 4 principles: wa, harmony; kei, respect; sei, purity; and jaku, tranquility. In a room stripped to its essentials, a hanging scroll chosen for the season, a flower placed in an alcove with the precision of a single thought, the soft sound of water heating over coals, the host prepares matcha for the guest. Every movement is intentional. Nothing is performed. The experience asks the participants to be nowhere but here, in this room, in this moment, with this bowl. In an age of relentless distraction, it is a radical act. The calendar of Japanese life is threaded through with festivals, with matsuri that pull communities out of their private routines and into something shared and ancient. In Kyoto, the Janmatsuri fills the entire month of July, its origins stretching back to the 9th century when it was performed as a Shinto purification ritual against plague. Today its towering wooden floats, some standing 6 stories high and adorned with centuries-old tapestries, move through the old streets of the city on the 17th, and the whole of Kyoto becomes a living museum, its residents wearing traditional dress, its windows open to display family treasures handed down through generations. Each spring, the arrival of the cherry blossoms, sakura, brings the entire nation outdoors for hanami, the ancient practice of blossom viewing. Parks fill with families sitting beneath the flowering canopy, their picnic mats touching edge to edge. It is not merely an appreciation of beauty. It is a meditation performed collectively on impermanence, on the knowledge that this particular bloom, on this particular branch, in this particular light, will not come again. And in mid-August, the country turns inward for Obon, the Buddhist festival of the dead, when ancestral spirits are believed to return to visit the living. Families travel home. Graves are cleaned and incised with fresh flowers. Lanterns are floated on rivers to guide the spirits back. And the Bon Odori, the dance of Obon, fills town squares across the country with circles of people moving together in slow, rhythmic steps. It is grief made communal, and therefore somehow survivable. The economy of Japan is the lifeblood of an archipelago that built its prosperity from almost nothing in the way of natural resources. Only around 12% of its land is suitable for cultivation. It has no significant deposits of oil, coal, or iron or worth speaking of. What it has instead, the thing it has always had and refined into a form of national genius, is people and the extraordinary care with which those people work. Japan is the fourth largest economy in the world by nominal GDP. Its automobile industry, anchored by companies like Toyota, Honda, and Nissan, is the third largest on the planet. Sony, Panasonic, and Canon have shaped the world's relationship with technology and optics. The service sector, which encompasses banking, insurance, retail, and the extraordinary machine of Japanese tourism, now accounts for roughly 70% of what the country produces. Yet even within this modern, heavily urbanized economy, the older forms of work persist, not as museum pieces, but as living practices that the Japanese have refused to let die. In the countryside, rice is still the foundation. The tanada, the terraced paddies carved into mountainsides over centuries by generations of farmers, step down the slopes of Japan's rural prefectures in formations so precise and so beautiful they have been called Japan's pyramids. Planted in spring, flooded through summer, drained and harvested in autumn, the tanada produce varieties like the prized koshihikari, grown in Niigata Prefecture and revered across the country for a texture and sweetness that machine agriculture cannot replicate. These fields are worked by hand in many places still, not from ignorance of better methods, but from a belief that some things should not be made easier. This belief is at the core of what the Japanese call shokunin, the spirit of the craftsman. Whether the craft is welding a car door on a factory floor in Hei Prefecture, preparing sushi at a counter in Osaka, or casting a bronze temple bell in Kyoto, the shokunin applies to his work the same unbroken attention. Not perfection as a destination, perfection as a direction. The economy runs on machines and algorithms and global supply chains. But underneath it, this older current still moves, patient, exacting, and alive. Japan's food is a direct and honest reflection of its landscape, its seasons, and its deepest values. Simple, precise, deeply connected to time and place, and built on a philosophy so coherent it was added to UNESCO's Intangible Cultural Heritage List in 2013. Washoku, the traditional cuisine of Japan, is not simply a way of eating. It is a way of seeing. At the center of washoku is the principle of shun, the idea that every ingredient has a precise window of peak perfection, a brief season in which its flavor and vitality are at their highest. A washoku cook works within this calendar rather than against it. Spring brings bamboo shoots and the first young green vegetables. Summer calls for cold tofu and chilled noodles, dishes designed to move against the heat. Autumn centers on matsutake mushrooms, chestnuts, and the new harvest rice, whose sweetness is so fresh it needs nothing added to it. Winter turns towards simmered root vegetables and the communal warmth of the Nabe hot pot, a single clay vessel set over a flame at the center of the table, around which everyone gathers. The structure of a proper Japanese meal is ikiju sansai, one soup, three sides, and rice, the eternal anchor. The soup is almost always miso, built on dashi, the foundational stock drawn from kombu seaweed and dried bonito flakes, an extraction of pure umami that is itself a kind of alchemy. Alongside the rice and soup come fermented pickles, tsukimono, their bright acidity cutting through richness. Beneath all of it, giving Japan its most distinctive flavors, is koji, the cultivated mold that transforms soybeans into miso, rice into sake, and grain into soy sauce. Japan has been one of the world's great fermentation cultures for over 1,000 years. The living microorganism is the invisible architect of the entire cuisine. There is a Japanese saying, "Mida tabaru," we eat with our eyes. A bowl of rice in Japan is not merely placed, it is considered. The angle of a pickled plum against white grain, the ceramic chosen for the season, the single sprig of shiso leaf laid across fish to signal spring. Even the humblest meal carries within it the suggestion that beauty and nourishment are not separate things. At its core, Japan's food culture remains rooted in the home, in recipes passed mouth to ear across generations, in the knowledge that the truest and most lasting taste of this country is found not in its celebrated restaurants, which are many and extraordinary, but at a low table at the end of a long day with the people one loves. To truly understand Japan is to understand its nature. The landscape is not a passive backdrop to the lives lived within it. It is an active, ancient, all-present force, the original shaper of everything: the cuisine, the philosophy, the architecture, the calendar, the soul. Around 75% of Japan is mountainous and heavily forested, a fact that has compressed its human population onto the coastal plains and river valleys, and left the interior largely wild, largely dark, largely ungoverned by anything but its own deep rhythms. At the center of this interior stands Mount Fuji, Fujisan, a near-perfect volcanic cone rising 3,776 meters above sea level, visible on clear days from Tokyo, 100 kilometers distant. It has been a sacred peak for more than 1,000 years, a site of Shinto pilgrimage and Buddhist devotion, a shape so iconic it has appeared in more paintings and woodblock prints than perhaps any other mountain on Earth. It does not need to be climbed to be understood. It needs only to be seen, sudden and white above the clouds, indifferent to the century, there as it has always been. But if Fujisan is Japan's most visible natural monument, Yakushima Island holds its most ancient secret. Off the southern coast of Kyushu, this small, round island, nicknamed the Alps of the Ocean for the 8 peaks exceeding 1,800 meters that rise from its center, is covered in a temperate rainforest so old and so intact that UNESCO designated it a World Heritage Site in 1993, the first natural site in Japan to receive that recognition. Deep in the forest, at an elevation of 1,350 meters, stands the Jomonsugi, a cedar tree estimated to be between 2,170 and 7,200 years old. It is 25 meters tall. Its trunk measures more than 16 meters in circumference. Dendrochronologists have confirmed it lived through the fall of Rome, through the rise of the Tang dynasty, through centuries of Japanese history it preceded entirely. To stand before it is to feel, briefly and viscerally, the true scale of time. The Japanese have a word for the light that filters through a forest canopy, komobai, the interplay of sunlight and leaves that creates that dappled, moving radiance on the forest floor. That a language would find it necessary to name this specific quality of light tells everything about a people's relationship with the trees around them. This relationship has been formalized in Shinrin-yoku, forest bathing, the medically recognized practice of immersing oneself in a forest environment, breathing its air, absorbing its stillness. Japan now maintains more than 65 forest therapy centers across the country, each with certified guides and scientifically mapped trails. The forest here is not scenery, it is medicine. It is the oldest form of belonging this land has to offer. For the young people of Japan, growing up here offers a unique and complex experience, rich with opportunity and structure, shadowed by pressure, and increasingly shaped by a quiet but growing desire to rewrite the terms of the life that has been laid out before them. Education in Japan is thorough and demanding from the very beginning. 9 years of compulsory schooling, 6 in elementary, 3 in lower secondary, are followed by high school and then the summit that generations of students have trained toward for years. The Kyotsu Tessuto, the university entrance common test, held over 2 days every January in testing centers from Hokkaido to Okinawa. 500,000 students sit the exam each year. Some 10 to 15%, known as ronin, the same word once used for masterless samurai, choose to spend an extra year in intensive study and attempt it again. The pressure is real and broadly acknowledged. and the debate about what it costs in terms of creativity, rest, and mental freedom is one Japan's educators are still having. For those who pass into university, the Great Migration begins, almost always toward Tokyo, Osaka, or one of the other major cities where institutions are concentrated and careers are launched. The countryside, already agging and emptying, watches its young leave and does not always see them return. This is one of the deepest structural tensions in Japanese society today. A nation whose roots are in the local and the particular, progressively hollowed out by the gravitational pull of the metropolis. And yet something is beginning to shift. A growing number of young Japanese, drawn by remote work, by disillusionment with urban intensity, by something older and harder to name, are choosing Iju migration to the countryside. The government's local revitalization cooperator program, Chieki Okoshi Kairyokutai, now offers young people 3 years of housing and a salary to settle in depopulating towns and contribute their skills. They come as brewers, designers, farmers, teachers. They arrive carrying new ideas in one hand and a willingness to learn from the old ways in the other. They are not enough to reverse the tide, but they are a thread of return, and in Japan, threads hold. The rhythm of day and night in Japan is a study in deliberate and beautiful contrasts. It is a rhythm shaped not by latitude, as in the subarctic lands where light and darkness swing in extremes, but by choice, by the Japanese understanding that the day and the evening are categorically different kinds of time, and that each deserves to be entered with its own quality of attention. The daytime is purposeful and precise. In the cities, it is the organized momentum of trains and offices, of construction sites and school corridors, of markets opening and fish being laid on beds of ice with the care of museum curators. In the countryside, it is the sound of water moving through irrigation channels, of a tractor moving slowly between the tanada, of an elderly farmer reading the sky. Purpose and effort fill the daylight hours in Japan with a focused, almost meditative quality. The pace is not frantic. It is concentrated, the daily expression of kaizen, the conviction that attention applied consistently to the work in front of one is itself a form of virtue. As evening descends, the register shifts entirely. The izakaya, the informal Japanese pub, with its warm lantern light and its low tables and its small plates of grilled skewers and cold beer, fills with the sound of a different kind of conversation. The day's hierarchy softens. Colleagues who have been formal with each other since morning become simply people, tired and glad of company. In homes across the country, bath time arrives, a ritual deeply embedded in the national character. The Japanese bath, whether in the private tub of a city apartment, the tiled warmth of a neighborhood sento, or the steaming mineral waters of an onsen hot spring, is not for washing. The body is washed before entering. The bath is for something else entirely, for dissolving the residue of the day, for the specific peace that comes from immersion in deep heat, for the quiet ceremony of belonging to one's own life again. In the Satyama, the borderland between village and mountain, where Japan's most ancient human landscape still breathes, the night sky arrives undimmed, and the silence that settles is the kind that asks nothing of the person inside it. Life in this ancient and extraordinary archipelago is not without its significant challenges. They are real, structural, and in some cases without clear resolution. And the Japanese, a people who face difficulty without dramatizing it, are grappling with them carefully and collectively every day. The deepest challenge is demographic. In 2024, Japan recorded just 686,061 births, the lowest number since records began in 1899, and the 16th consecutive year of population decline. The fertility rate fell to 1.15, far below the 2.1 needed to replace the population. Nearly 30% of the country is now aged 65 or older. In rural prefectures, this agging is acute. Schools close, hospitals consolidate, shops shutter, and the young who might have stayed look at what remains and choose the city instead. Across the countryside, an estimated 9 million homes stand empty, izakaya, their owners gone, their gardens quietly returning to the land. These are not just statistics. They are the physical residue of a society whose internal migration is outpacing its ability to regenerate. The pressure of success brings its own complications. Japan welcomed nearly 37 million international visitors in 2024, a record that is also a strain on Kyoto's ancient lanes, on the footpaths below Mount Fuji, on communities that find themselves transformed by the very admiration they attract. How to welcome the world without losing the quietness that makes the world want to come? This is a question with no easy answer. And then there is the Earth itself. Japan sits astride the Pacific Ring of Fire, one of the most seismically active regions on the planet. Earthquakes are not a possibility here. They are a condition of existence, absorbed into the architecture, the emergency protocols, and the national psychology with the same pragmatic acceptance the Faroese extend to weather. The land gives, and it also takes. This has always been so.